Hi there, and thanks for joining me today here at Fort Collins Startup Week. My name is Megan Greene. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Greene Media, and I'm here to talk with you about signs that you have outgrown your business software and what to do to keep yourself from getting into that position in the first place. Let me first tell you a little bit about who Greene Media is, a little bit who I am, and then we'll jump right into our content for the day. Greene Media is a custom software development agency based in the Denver area. We've been around for just about 14 years, and we provide software solutions that help businesses think big, whether they're overcoming challenges, whether they are wanting to take their big ideas to the next level, whether they are, looking to break the mold of their industry. That's what custom software can do for them. We provide services like web development, e-commerce solutions, expression engine development. We do web and mobile apps, as well as truly custom solutions based on each individual business's needs, whether it be an external product or an internal product to help solidify your processes and save you time and money. Like I said, my name is Megan. I am a Colorado native, born and raised here in the city of Aurora. I could not imagine a better place to live, and I am super excited to be able to be here with everybody today. I wish that I could shake your hands. I wish that I could, be able to actually meet somebody instead of sit here in my kitchen talking to myself. But it's a Fort Collins Startup Week is just such a great way to engage with one another and to get to know each other. And so I really hope that even though I can't actually see you in person, I really hope that you'll connect with me at the end, either on LinkedIn, shoot me an email. And once it stops being cold, we can go sit on a patio somewhere. I'd love to meet you, be able to just know, what is your business up to? What are you doing? What cool startup do you have? Whether or not we do business together, I just really enjoy getting to know people in the startup community. All right, let's go ahead and dive into our content for the day. Let's do this. And we all know the routine. We did it today. That alarm clock goes off. And maybe if you're a morning person, I don't know what this is like. If you're a morning person, you smash that snooze button a time or two, and you get up and you function. If you're like me, you smash that snooze button at least 10 times, and then you make the mad dash to get yourself ready for your work day. You grab a cup of coffee, or in my case, 10, and you embrace that day, and you take on those things like tasks and reports, presentations, client meetings, whatever it is that you have to do, whether you're having to really think through every single step of your day, or whether you're on the creative track and you're just focusing on how can I make this great thing greater. Whatever it is that you do, we all do it in a similar way. And for a startup business, I can only imagine that amount of stress and that amount of work is doubled. So what we want to do today in this presentation is talk through some things that you should know and be aware of now that you're starting to, bring on board software solutions and applications to help make your business easier, but also how to really watch out for things that are kind of red flags that say, hey, I have this issue. It's probably caused by this. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. When we want to set the foundation, as a startup, you need those tools, those solutions in place that help your business run smoothly. Things like you don't want to do accounting on an abacus, right? Not fun for anybody. But at the same time, that because you're a startup or a small business, you don't have a substantial amount of cash flow. And so it's really, really easy, just like if you're a frugal person at the grocery store, it's really easy to get drawn to the things that may be a lesser quality, but save you money. So apps and software solutions that are free or ultra low cost, who really is going to say no to $10 a month, right? But they end up offering the bare minimum of what you will actually need. And so while these solutions may solve your immediate need of, I need a CRM, I need a website, I need, right? You have all these needs. And so you're quickly just checking the boxes, and you get to have all these solutions that solve these immediate needs. But what's going to happen, and we see it more often than not with all of our clients, is that those apps and software solutions that they purchase just to check the box become a thorn in their side, because then as they're growing, as they're changing, as they're evolving, they find that like, oh, this doesn't work. I can't do that. And instead of being, having that big light bulb above your head, what you instead have is a bunch of people in Charlie Brown mom voices that say, wah, 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 like you can't do the things. So what we want to do is help get you positioned for success by choosing the correct solutions from the get-go. The average small business, so not necessarily a startup, but the average small business with having 1 to 100 employees uses approximately 102 different software solutions to run their day-to-day business. When I read this statistic, I about fell out of my chair because 102 applications seems so over the top. But when you think about it, when you think about the number of SaaS or software as a service apps or on-premise applications that you're using, and on-premise is not as common these days, but it's anything you have to either store on a server on your own property or download onto your device, whatever. We have this statistic is just outrageous, because you think, man, I can't possibly use 102 apps, but trust me, we'll get there in a second, but it's so easy to just start to run up the number of applications that you're using. And the number of apps in use in each individual company is up about 30% year over year. Now, when you have that much app utilization growth year over year, you find that it's easier and easier to waste money on applications that are duplicated, meaning you have another software solution over here or another app that does basically the same thing, but maybe it doesn't do it in exactly the same way. And so you're like, well, I'm going to adapt this one. And so now all of a sudden you have 2 that do the same thing. So that's kind of duplicated app. And then you have orphaned apps, which means that if you don't have a centralized like IT person, I say that loosely because I don't necessarily know that this would fall into the realm of most IT jobs anymore. But if you don't have a singular person designated to manage the apps that your company is using, if each department kind of gets to do their own thing, it's really easy to see apps get adopted and then orphaned, meaning they're not being used anymore. And this is especially true when companies are in a rapid growth point and they're adding these SaaS apps, they're adding the cloud-based apps, they're adding, anything that they need in that moment without a strategic plan or visibility into what is this department using and what is this department using, and are they the same? Or you end up with duplicated apps there, or, just abandoning them and saying, well, this doesn't really meet my needs anymore. And especially if you're not paying a ton of money each month, it's really easy to forget about them. It's kind of like that gym membership that just sits on your shoulder and says, hey, you should go work out. But then you never do, but you pay the $20 a month. I'm totally guilty of that, by the way. All right, so how do we accrue 102 apps in our business? Here's a quick list. Just take a super quick look through. We have, accounting and invoicing all the way down to your phone systems, time tracking, social media. These things that may not seem like, oh, this isn't software, this isn't, you don't think about it that way, but that's what all of this is. They are all different software tools and applications that help fuel your vision to take your business to whatever level you have plans for. So what I want you to do really quick is just take a look at this list. And, these are more for one specific or 2 specific sides of the business. Take a quick look at this list and count how many you are either planning to use, already use, or could see a need for in your business. So just take a quick second and look that over. All right, so out of this list, and I realize I can't see you, but I want you to make note, how many did you actually have? If you had between 1 and 5, did you have between 5 and 10? Maybe if you have a piece of paper next to you, go ahead and jot it down. Greene Egg Media, for example, uses 5 different applications on this list. Now, there's a couple on this list where I kind of created a parallel. We don't use LogMeIn, we don't use Password Keeper, but we use 1Password. So not listed on the list, but in the similar space. So I went ahead and counted that. All right, so you've got your note, jot it down. take a look at this list. In this list, we're hitting a different section of your business. So take a couple seconds, take a look at this list. All right, have you had a chance to look over this list? All right, make note on your little piece of paper, how many do you have on this list? So just for record, Greene Egg Media on this page alone has 7. So that makes 12. Out of the 2 pages, Greene Egg Media has already attached ourselves to 12 different apps. One more, take a look at this one. All right, how many do you have total? So take a look at everything that you have already looked through. And I see one password is on the end here. So I'm gonna go ahead and subtract one, but out of this very limited list of apps, Greene Egg Media uses 18 different apps, okay? And that's just in this handful of things that barely touch your departments. That doesn't include your social media. That doesn't include whatever else you have across your business that may be more unique to you. So keep that in mind, how quickly utilization of apps and software solutions impact your business. So what is the purpose of having all of these apps? You know, just like we don't want to sit and do math on an abacus. I mean, to be honest, I don't want to do math ever, but I certainly don't want to do it on an abacus. But the point of having all of these software solutions is to help make your business easier so you can focus your time and your energy on the things that really matter. So we could do a super quick Google search that says tools every small business should be using, but those are a dime a dozen. And I know that you could find that super quick, but what works for one business may not work for the next. And why spend a ton of time in trial and error if it doesn't actually end up working for you, and then you're wasting time and money? So as you're looking through which applications do I need to make my business successful, I suggest looking at these categories. And then through the rest of the presentation, we're going to dive just a little bit deeper into each of them. So look into apps that help you maximize efficiency, automate your processes, optimize your digital presence, improve your customer experience, reduce man hours and mistakes, and improve employee morale. So those are our top takeaways from this, and we're going to dive in now and check out each one of them. So when you're choosing your apps, like I said at the beginning, it's really easy to choose things that are initially perfect, where you say, man, this is a sweet deal. It's got all of these features and functionality, like it's not going to get any better. And in that moment, it's like, yes, this is awesome, right? They're affordable, they're easy to use, and they're easy to implement, because we all know that in that daily grind, as we're smashing the snooze button, we don't need something where we have to sit and spend hours implementing a new solution. But what many small businesses and what we see from our clients all the time here at Greene Egg Media is that they don't realize how quickly they're going to grow, and then how quickly they're going to outgrow those starter kit applications. And I promise you it happens so much quicker than you think it will. Now, when you're growing, when you're gaining traction, when you're bringing on new customers, when your cool idea is like really taking flight, during a time where you should be sitting there celebrating, you should be kicking back, you know, having a coffee, a beer, whatever you want, and celebrating the success of your business, you're gonna start to see that you're not running like a well-oiled machine. And this is one of the really key indicators that you're starting to outgrow your software solutions. If you're suddenly seeing this influx of stress and friction and frustration in managing your day-to-day operations, you know, it's possible that you've kind of reached that breaking point where you start in these starter kit applications and the box seems big and it seems roomy, and it's like you're a kid in a refrigerator box. And then all of a sudden you're in, you know, a jewelry box, and you're pushing up against the edges. And that's the point where you realize that you've probably outgrown your software applications. Now, there's some other things that might cause this problem too. If you guys jump on over to our website, you'll be able to see there's a different presentation, a downloadable ebook about maximizing process efficiency. And that could be a thing too, but that's a topic for a different time. If you are interested in that ebook, give me a shout or visit our website and I'd be happy to get that for you. All right, so we're gonna look out for some very specific signs when you're about to outgrow, or you've started to outgrow, or you have absolutely busted out of that box of your software. You're going to see an increase in the need for manual tasks to manage your data. You're going to have very limited visibility into your business. Your reporting is poor, or it takes too long to compile the data to create reports that are valuable to you. So if you don't, you just end up not having visibility into your business to make decisions. You'll start to see that there's gaps in understanding, there's gaps in communication, or there's gaps in the development of projects or, products, whatever it is that your business does, there's gaps. You'll start to see that you're moving data or information from one system into another just to complete a singular task or a singular process. Your team will become reactive instead of proactive. So instead of being able to jump and say, man, I see this data trend in 3 months, we're going to be up against blank. What you're gonna have is all of a sudden like, no, red alert, everyone is panicking. And you stop having future vision and you start existing just to put out fires. You may also find that your website ends up hurting your brand more than it helps. And you start to see, because you're always fighting these fires, you're fighting communication gaps, you don't have this vision, your vision for your brand, your plans, your goals start to become shaped by the limitations of your software, instead of your software helping be a stepping stone into where you want your business to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years. But what do these things actually look like? It's really easy to say there's an increase in manual tasks, but there's always manual tasks in business, right? Like they never are going to go away. But what some specific things to look for are an overflow of data within your software systems. If you find that there's no place to store the data, and I'm not just talking about storage space, I'm talking about the ability to add or manipulate field names so that the information that you need from that specific solution comes back at you when you need it. If you are using a CRM, for example, and you're tracking the lifetime value of a customer, but you don't actually have a way to track sales opportunities, you don't have a way to track, how many referrals did this oh my goodness, I have just totally forgotten how to speak English. How many referrals did this one individual give you in a calendar year? That kind of information. If you don't have a way to track that, or whatever information is valuable to your business, if you don't have a way to track that within the software system that you're using, you may not be able to have a solution that is working for you, meaning you have to start tracking that information in other ways or adding it manually into other systems so that it gets captured somewhere. If your software doesn't include a collaborative sharing function, you're going to spend more time manually responding to information requests. You're spending more time in presentations. You're going to spend more time sharing screenshots, pinging each other in Slack, whatever it is that you guys need to do as a team to communicate. All of that will be done manually if you don't have collaborative sharing and visibility in real time project updates. And if your software doesn't offer up opportunities for automation to take those really routine, mundane tasks that are easily repeatable but necessary, you're going to spend time in manual tasks, which means you're spending more payroll dollars, you're spending just more time in the day focusing on things that shouldn't be done manually. Okay, so what can we do to avoid these side effects, right? So we have costly increases in human error. It takes it takes man hours to fix them. It takes man hours to manage all those tasks. The worst though is that you have probably done a very good job of curating a really solid team based on cultural fit and skill set. And what's happening is you're taking these great fit individuals and using them for mundane, repeatable tasks. But these people, I'm sure you have hired incredibly highly intelligent individuals. And now you're using them for mundane, repetitive tasks that become unfulfilling or unchallenging, and they're not propelling your business forward, because these people that you hired to be big brain thinkers, as my 13-year-old likes to say, big brained, you hire them to be something that's big and awesome and innovative. And what happens is they become kind of robots. And that adds to that daily grind, which then kind of, just diminishes employee morale. Your efficiency rate is going to drop, and processes are no longer going to be streamlined, which results in bottlenecks and then, of course, costly delays. But what we can do ahead of time when you're thinking through what needs to be done every day before you invest in a singular application, a singular piece of software, take a minute, meet with your department heads, and really think through what needs to be captured in reports. What do I need to be able to manage tasks? What do I need to be able to manage the customer experience? And really think through, what do I need to track for my business to be successful? And then be able to start to adapt your software, or select software that works for your needs. Okay, let's go in. Limited visibility. If you don't have visibility into your business through analytics, through reporting, you're just, to be honest, you're just going to be kind of hosed. You need to be able to understand the health of your business at the drop of a hat. You need to be able to determine if you're on pace to meet your goals. If do you understand what's happening within each department of your business? Do you know where you can afford to take a risk? Do you know if you can afford to hire this really awesome candidate over there, or run this marketing campaign? Or can you afford to give everybody Friday off? Having visibility into your business is more than just like running reports and saying, look, I can run that report. It is the essence of being able to make decisions about the future of your business. And if you have limited visibility, you're going to find that it takes too much time to generate valuable and informative reports, because you have to download data from multiple systems and then manually compile it into something that's useful. So if you're compiling data in 4 or 5 different applications because there's no way that a singular one is going to meet your needs, and then all of a sudden you have this person who's sitting here going like this and they've got paper everywhere, it's going to take too much time to make decisions on a dime, to be able to pivot when the market says pivot. You will also see that the reports that are provided by the software solution that you're using and the insights that you need to make informed decisions are not aligned. So you're doing a lot of interpretation. You're spending a lot of time really thinking through, okay, this is what I have. I have, 3/4 of the pie, but we're not going to use pie. Pie's gross. We're going to use cake. You have 3/4 of your cake, but you're still missing 1/4 of your cake. And if you don't have that quarter, it's not a presentable model. You don't have the entire picture to make those informed decisions. You will also find that you have limited visibility when bad data and human reporting errors are consistently resulting in poor analysis. And this is especially common. We see it all the time when manual processes or having to combine data from different systems are used to create those reports. It's so easy to make mistakes. Everybody does it. Nobody's perfect. But when those mistakes create costly delays in being able to understand what's happening in your business, or you start to see that a specific employee or team of employees is not putting in information or data into a software system in a functional manner, or they're omitting data, which is one of the biggest causes of bad data. If they're omitting data, you limit your visibility as well. Because yes, it's so easy to cut corners in the moment. Like, hey, I got 5 minutes. What am I going to do in that 5 minutes? Ding, 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 ding. But then a month from now, when I need to look at that data again as a business leader, and I'm like, oh man, I'm really sorry I cut those corners. Now, the side effects of this limited visibility, like we've talked about before, the inability to make informed decisions, difficulty in making changes, even those changes that should be relatively simple. You'll start to fall behind the competition. And over time, you'll start to see that there's a loss of sales and a loss of sales revenue because of missed opportunities. Because if the market shifts, if there's an opportunity to dive in an area that may be a new market, develop a new product, shift your marketing, whatever, if you're spending too much time making decisions, you're gonna miss that boat. And again, this goes back to kind of what we talked about already with the need to be very clear. What do you need to be successful? What information do you need? And this is where talking with business owners who have already been in the field for a long time, find a mentor, find someone who can say, what helps you get the visibility that you need? And I'm not talking about asking for software solution recommendations. I am talking about what information do you actually need to be successful? All right, let's jump into the gaps between teams. Now, because like we've talked about, your software should provide real-time visibility into projects and into your business, and that real-time communication so that you're avoiding those costly delays in the project completion process. But what it looks like when your teams don't have that, when that real-time visibility, when that open communication literally doesn't exist, you're going to start to see that there's a lack of cohesive planning and strategy around a project. Whatever that project is, it's going to start to kind of come apart at the seams. Teams are going to be spending more valuable time having unnecessary conversations or replying to a consistent stream of emails or pings on Slack when the software doesn't provide that real-time information. Now, of course, like we talked about, there is the matter of actually putting in the information and the data for this to work too. So this could fall back on a process issue, but more than likely, this is happening because there isn't that real-time visibility for your teams to be able to say, okay, I'm an engineer. I need to know where my project manager, where my sales team stands on this specific project, and I need it right now. You may also see that there are consistent bottlenecks in your processes just over and over and over again, or the same process gets bottlenecked in the same area over and over again. You'll start to see a lack of understanding or awareness by members of your team about what the next step is. You'll then start to see that the responsibility is falling on the wrong people in that team, which then results in a lack of collaboration, poor teamwork, frustration, anger. You just destroy that employee morale. Everybody's irritated. Nobody is satisfied with what they do because everyone just always feels like they don't know what's happening. And the side effects of all of that, low employee productivity, efficiency rates drop. And the more efficiency rates drop, the more you're spending money on things that you shouldn't be spending money on. Your employee morale falls to the ground. You begin to see a high employee turnover. Your clients over time will become dissatisfied because of project delays, because of poor project executables or deliverables. You start to find that you get incomplete information, or no one actually knows what's going on enough to be able to answer questions. And then instead of seeking out tangible resources and information, people are improvising, meaning they just want this task off of their plate. And so instead of being able to just go and get a tangible resource or information, because that results, this gap results in that endless string of emails where you always feel like you're behind. No one can be proactive. So as we're moving the data around to complete processes, what that looks like is, if you're downloading and importing or uploading data from one application to another to yield a singular result, if you're having to manually type or retype information into one or more applications to yield a singular result, if you're having to transform or edit data in order to match the field requirements of each application. So what that means is that if you're using system A over here and their fields are named one specific thing, but you also need that same information over here in solution B. And that solution has just maybe a different formatting or a different field name or even just a field type. You may have to go back in and transform that, like, okay, this was a pick list, but this is an open text field. What does that, how do I take that data from one to the other? And then you may have information entered by multiple people on multiple applications. So then you have a redundancy in your data, which also really messes up your processes. The side effects of that are the manual data entry adds to that extra mundane work. There is a significant increase in the potential for mistakes. Information becomes conflicted or incomplete the more hands you have in that pot. You guys, I'm sure, have all heard that, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many hands in the pot. It is very, very, very important to make sure that no more people need to be involved in a process or a task than they actually need to be. And when you have to manage this many multiple systems or multiple data or having to move data, you get that too many hands in the pot. And then you get missing or inaccurate data, you get duplicate data, it just kind of becomes this hot mess, right? And nobody has time for a hot mess. So again, things to consider when you're looking through what data do you need is to be able to identify that in each department, and then also be able to identify what becomes a cross-departmental need. So does sales and marketing need this? And then accounting needs this? Great. How can we make that flow together? How can we streamline that system of information? Or who needs to know how many engineering hours or payroll hours that an individual logged this week? And who else needs to know that? How can we streamline that process? Reactive instead of proactive. I have seen so many people, not just Green Egg Media clients, but just people in my life that I've known throughout my career, that they literally shift their entire business because they have stopped being able to be proactive. Where their business could have been in 5 years, they are all the way over there. And that's not where they wanted to be. It's not where they needed to be. And it's not to say that they're not happy. It's just not always where they thought they would go because they ended up in a reactive path instead of a proactive. And so when your teams are starting to become reactive instead of proactive, here's some things to kind of take a look for. If your teams are managing problems with knee-jerk reactions, they're running around with their buckets full of water, trying to put out fire after fire after fire, instead of having the time to sit back, to be thoughtful and intentional and reflective and find the solution that best meets the needs of your business, of your team, that also aligns with your goals and your plans. Running around fighting fires also gets really exhausting. If you find that your team, whether it's your leaders, your department heads, your senior leadership team, whatever, if your team can't think ahead or plan ahead because they're trapped in this muck of the mundane and the repetitive tasks that they just have to keep doing. If you're spending 6 hours a day compiling data to run a report, so then you can spend the last hour of the day actually reflecting and thinking through that report, it's backwards. That is so backwards. And this happens as a direct result of all of that manual data management, the lack of streamlined processes. Reflective teams will also see that they're finding temporary solutions, like that Band-Aid solution, that don't actually address the problem or the source of the problem. It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on someone who's hemorrhaging. It doesn't actually work. It literally does nothing. And then teams find themselves caught in the cycle of frustration because they're tired of it. They know they want it to change, but they're stuck in the cycle because they don't know how to change their situation because they are so deep into the firefighting, into the tasks, into the mundane. And when you have that, when you're stuck in that muck, when you are stuck in this reactive mode, critical business decisions become delayed. The vision for your business gets lost or muddled. You start to notice that your deadlines for goals will pass without completion, whether it's a revenue goal, whether it's a sales goal, whether it's a product deployment goal, whether it's a we want to open a new office goal, whatever that goal is, you'll start to see that those goals pass and you're not anywhere near them. Then the blame game begins and everyone starts to blame somebody else, because when you're reactive, it's really easy to point those fingers and say, well, if this person would have done this, then this wouldn't have happened. But when you're in a reactive mode, you're not thinking about the big picture. You're thinking about self-preservation. You're thinking about kind of saving your own skin. And because you're thinking that way, minor setbacks become a full-blown crisis. And then you're finding yourself even deeper. It's like you've got that shovel and you're just like digging yourself away further and further into that hole. Let's dive in now to your website. If your website is hurting your brand. Now, what's crazy is you'd kind of think it's 2021. As long as you have a website, you're good. Like you're out there, you're in the digital world, people can find you, but that's not necessarily true. And by not necessarily, I mean 0% true. If your website aesthetic doesn't align with your brand, but the site builder that you're using doesn't support that differentiation, meaning if you can't apply your own logo, if you can't apply a color scheme that matches your brand, even if it's not 100%, you should at least still have, if your brand colors are blue and yellow, you should still have blue and yellow on your website. If your website is being hit with attacks and viruses on a regular basis, simply because of the platform that it's built on, and this happens more often than not with a lot of the site builders, is hackers are able to very quickly identify, just areas of weakness or gaps in the code where they can come in and just hammer the little guy, which may or may not always take you down. Sometimes it could just be this minor inconvenience, but again, because you're in reactive mode, it becomes a full-on crisis. If you're needing to add levels of data security to protect yourself, to protect your customers, to protect your clients, but you aren't afforded that on your website platform. If they give you kind of this bare bones, flat rate security, but it's not enough for you, it's going to hurt your brand. Platform or plugin updates or upgrades render your site unusable or broken through no fault of your own. Now, something that we see a lot is that a website platform will upgrade, but the owners or the developers of those plugins or add-ons don't upgrade with it. And because then you have this like hodgepodge of different developers that participated in the building of your site, even if you just pulled it from, the App Store, if you pulled it from the WordPress world, if you pulled it from Expression Engine, you still have all these things that need to work together, and all of a sudden those cogs don't mesh anymore. If your website traffic is increasing, but your performance is slow because it can't handle the higher traffic volumes, it seems just crazy to have to think about that, because everybody, it's the digital age. Everybody is looking for websites all the time. But when you're using an out-of-the-box site builder, a lot of times it is not rated for a ton of traffic. And that what defines a ton depends on each individual site builder. You'll find that you're limited to the types of changes that you can make, whether it's to the design, whether it's to the content, whether it's to the user journey, you're limited. If your website displays ads or other paid advertising on your website that doesn't belong to your brand, that is 100% no, it's hurting your brand more than you think it is. You also will find that if you're not using a custom domain, that your website is actually a subdomain of that specific website tool, that's going to hurt your brand as well, because your identity is actually going to be attached to your website platform instead of your brand as a whole. If your website is not mobile responsive, and if you don't have an option for backup in your website available to you, that's going to hurt your brand as well, because what's going to happen is when that virus, that attack actually gets through and it takes you down and you don't have a backup to restore from, it's trouble, and it means you lose everything. And the side effects of all of those things is that you'll start to see your conversion rates drop, or honestly, you don't have conversion rates to review. Your sales and revenue numbers will become dangerously low, or not even become dangerously low. They will stay dangerously low. You'll start to see that your SEO rankings are non-existent, or maybe what you had starts to drop. The competition will gain a competitive advantage. You can kind of see some of the things, like it's all funneling in, right? The competition has gained a successful advantage already because we don't have visibility into our business. If our target audience is not engaging, if those quality prospects start to go off to another competitor, you'll start to see that referrals and word of mouth marketing get reduced or become non-existent. The quality of your goods or services is called into question. And this is a huge one. You've spent so much time really working towards building this awesome product, this awesome service, cultivating this awesome team of awesome people. I wonder how many times I can say awesome in a sentence. But when consumers or, anyone who's using your products or service start to question whether or not the quality is what they expect because your website isn't great, that's going to hurt your brand most of all. The next thing, and this is kind of off topic here, but if there's mixed messages between your marketing and your website. So if what you have out there in the marketing campaign world, whether it's social posts, whether it's webinars, whether it's, just going out to networking events, which I realize are not a thing right now. If you're saying one thing and representing your business in a certain way through your marketing campaigns, and you're driving all this traffic back to your website, and your website is a completely different look and feel. Meaning if you're over here, let's say you have some sort of business related to camping, right? You have you're out here talking about tents, and you're talking about, hiking boots, and you're talking about all these cool camping gadgets to help you stay safe in the backcountry. And then you get to your website, and your website has pictures of palm trees, or your website doesn't, has hunting gear or something like that as the first and foremost images and the content that people see. Those two things don't align. Someone who is interested in the tent from your marketing wants to come in and then learn more about that tent or be taken into a world of camping, not necessarily taken into a world of hunting. If they choose to continue their journey into hunting, that's different. That's where your customer journey comes in. But you want to make sure that your marketing and your website have the same messaging, that it starts the journey and continues the journey in a functional way. We have said this over and over today, and I'm going to beat the dead horse just a little bit more. When your vision becomes compromised, it's so stressful. It's so stressful because when you want to add new features, you want to add new functionality, you want to add customizations or flexibility into your website, into your brand, into your marketing, and you're told you can't do that. And it's usually not someone blatantly saying you can't do that. It's usually this function does not exist. It's a series of very small things, small alerts or small shifts that you realize you start to create this thing where it's like, oh, well, if I can't do this, then I will do this instead. And over time, your bright, shiny yellow brick road into the Emerald City becomes this it's still a great road, it's still a great path, but you find yourself going through the weeds more. You're like in the poppy field. And you may fall asleep periodically. And so when you find that every time you have this awesome idea to grow your business, you wonder if your software is even capable of doing it. And so then you kind of sit there and you spend time like, could I even do that? And you start to doubt what your ideas are. If you're finding that you're constantly feeling frustrated or trapped by the limitations of your software, whether it is your website, your mobile app, your internal technology, your accounting software, your time management software, your project management software, whatever, if you're feeling trapped or frustrated, those are huge indicators that your vision is becoming compromised and that you're becoming a reactive team. If you're spending too much time tampering with those technical problems, going into these mundane tasks, manual data management, it's gonna get in the way of the vision for your company. And so when you're finding a solution, now we're gonna get into some of like the good news, right? Like right now you're probably stressed out. You're like, oh, I don't know, like, oh, it's so stressful. So let's go into how do we find the right solution and how do we avoid getting into these problems in the first place? So when you're finding a solution, you want to try to avoid these pitfalls, because finding a solution to the problems that are caused by outgrowing your software are often done incorrectly, because it is a complex process. Because just like getting into this problem in the first place, it's really easy to treat the symptoms rather than deal with the problem itself, because it's quicker, but it's the Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. It doesn't actually work. Now, if you also struggle with having accurate data and analytical reports to reference when making those key decisions, which, as we've learned today, is definitely a thing. It's hard to make decisions when you don't actually feel like you have all the knowledge in your hands. It's so easy. And I feel like everyone does this in their personal life too. It's become so easy to become short-sighted and settle on a short-term solution rather than a longer-term solution with more of a great impact. It is what it is. It's the life that we live. It's really easy to do this because it's like, oh, I'll get to this later. And I, even in my business world, in my career here at Greene Media, I do the exact same thing. So it's not something to be ashamed of if you do this. It's also really, really easy to continue to fall into the trap of the most budget-friendly option rather than find the actual best fit for your business and for your vision, because nobody wants to part with their cash. Having your cash is nice. You want that cash cushion. You want to actually be using that for maybe something else in your business, but you'll find that cash ends up getting sucked away faster with the wrong solutions anyway. So it's better to just find the actual best fit. So now, how do we find those solutions? Finding a solution that has lasting value takes time. Consider that phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. You are not going to find the right solution with a Google search. It's not going to happen. Like 0% is that going to happen. So how do you make it happen? Have open and honest conversations with any key decision makers, and not even just the decision makers. Find the people who are lower on your totem pole, the people who are actually doing the work. Have those open and honest discussions on the future, the goals, and the vision for the company with everybody, and dive into those problems on a really granular level. And when you're having these conversations, avoid blanket statements like, there's too much data that we're managing manually. We know that because you're spending, blanks amount of dollars on payroll to have this really highly intelligent, creative, like innovative thinker doing expense reports manually, or whatever other manual task you have. I just thought of something quick. When you start to approach these problems, ask open-ended questions that begin with who, what, when, where, how, and why. Some sample questions are, what is happening to cause the need for so much manual data management? If you ask one person, you're going to get a very limited response. Ask everybody. Start with a Google form. Start with some sort of open-ended where there's some anonymity, maybe if nobody wants to be honest, or maybe your team feels on guard because they're in, just like reactive mode. Who is responsible for that data and process? How is this impacting our business? The more voices you get where you're able to say, okay, I have all of these responses from this form, from this quiz, however you want to format it. And then say, okay, this is a trend, and this is a trend, and this is a trend. And then pull those people in and have one-on-one discussions, have group discussions. You're going to find that finding the right solution involves a lot of meetings, and nobody wants meetings. But if you have the meetings, if you put in the time, if you put in the legwork, you're going to find that this is a short-term time for your business, because when you find the right solution, you would not believe how much freedom you have for the rest, the rest of your business. When you're having these meetings, when you're asking these questions, get as granular and as detailed as possible. Not even asking what is happening to cause this. Go deeper than that when you're having one-on-one interviews with people, or you're having team interviews with people, and understand what exactly is this process. Where is the process getting bottlenecked? Why is the process getting bottlenecked? Why is this report not good enough? And start really diving deeper and get into those sub-levels of questions where you're able to determine understanding the process of managing the data, or managing the process as a whole, input, output, compilation, etc. Figuring out all of those, identifying who is responsible, identifying whatever you need to know to help you make decisions. Clearly identify the impacts that these issues are having to your business. Don't just say reduced efficiency, give a percentage. This issue has reduced efficiency by this much, and then be able to figure out how much has that hurt your business. Has that increased your payroll costs? How much has it increased your payroll costs? How much has that created dissatisfied employees? How much has your growth slowed or stalled? Being able to find really tangible data points that show you are on a downward spiral is essential to being able to determine that the solution that you find begins to work for you when you start to see those numbers increase or decrease. But it's also important to know, this is my baseline. This is what I need to improve. I need to improve my efficiency rate. I need to see that my growth is happening, but I also need to know that it's sustainable. I need to know that my audience engagement rates are going to go up, because my brand is not being represented in a functional way. So when you find a solution that does that, what's the difference between your previous engagement rate and your new engagement rate? Hopefully it's up here, hopefully. If you find that you don't have the ability to keep up with the competition, dive into do some competitive research. What are your competitors doing? What solutions are they using? Take a look at their website, take a look at kind of what their customer journey is. There's some insights you're not going to get to a competitor, right? But there's still ways to look in and try to get some visibility into the inner workings of their business. Now, after time, patience, when your team has clearly identified the answers to those questions, again, let me say it one more time, this will take time. It is not a one-time conversation. It'll be time to dive into selecting that solution that you're going to implement. What is the best solution for the problems that your organization is facing? Consider all of the different focal areas that are relevant to your business goals. Are you specifically looking to reduce costs, improve operational or process efficiencies? Are you looking to boost your business performance? Are you looking to increase engagement rates? Be very clear in identifying what your specific target goals are, and make sure that everyone who's a part of a decision-making team is 100% clear on what the goals are. And then start with the basics. Do you need to establish new or improve existing training programs for managing those business processes? And again, we talked about this, a little bit here and there. We've got the other ebook that I would be happy to send you if you're interested, that totally talks about the managing business processes. If you need to ensure that there's process ownership, that there's points of accountability, have a chance to provide a visual example about how that process should work, who's responsible for each step in the process, and what to do if there's an issue that arises at any point in a process. So before you have selected a new solution, go back to the basics. Everything you ever needed to learn, you learned in kindergarten. This is business kindergarten, okay? Go back to the basics. Establish communication protocols that are going to eliminate confusion and errors related to those miscommunications that happen among your teams. So for example, if you're working on a team, it's important that those project details are shared verbally and followed up with something in written form, whether it's an email, whether you drop it into your project management solution, whether you put it as I was a teacher before this, put it in an anchor chart on your wall. I don't care. Whatever you need to do to be successful in communicating in multiple avenues so that there is no question about what expectations are, you do that. Review your existing software applications to ensure that they are being utilized properly and to their full extent. Something that we see a lot here at Green Egg Media, and I've seen in previous companies in my career, is that companies will adapt a software for one specific purpose and think that is its only purpose or that is its only job, when they don't realize that there may be a whole slew of other options or tools or whatever it is within that specific application already. And so before you go spending more money, make sure that that software application that you already have in use is being utilized properly and to the full extent. And as a startup, if you haven't done this yet, if you don't have any software, do your research. Take time to review, okay, I'm considering this option. This option has blankety blank 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 blankerson. Know what it's capable of ahead of a purchase. If you can, upgrade your existing apps. If you are on the starter version of an app and the needs of your business can be met with a more advanced or feature-rich version of the app, go for it. There's no need to reinvent the wheel if all you have to do is say, I want the next best feature package. Or research and review alternative apps or platforms if you find that your existing software can't meet those needs. So, and as a startup, if you haven't started there, look and see what's the starter version, what's the next best thing, is this going to work for me? Now that I know what I need, because you've had these conversations, you know what your goals are, do your research. And then remember, there is no out-of-the-box software application that will ever fully meet your needs, because every business and every set of business needs is so incredibly different. One thing, if I can leave you with one bit of information today, eliminate multiple apps that can be replaced by a single, more robust, comprehensive application. There is no reason, 0% of a reason, to have 5 or 4 or even 3 apps when you can have one. It's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, and it's going to reduce those manual processes. So if you are seeing trends across the board where you're like, okay, this, and this need are all doing the same thing, or this department, and this department are all using this, but here's a singular, more robust, comprehensive application that everyone can use that, okay? Take some time in your research and determine if integrations between applications exist already to allow for a more streamlined flow of data before you switch platforms altogether. So for example, we here at Green Egg Media, we use MailChimp and Salesforce. There is an integration between MailChimp and Salesforce so that when I do something in MailChimp and I send emails, it automatically manages that data in Salesforce for me too. So the leads that I'm targeting through the MailChimp option are also getting updated in Salesforce. So then when someone responds to one of my email campaigns, that's already there for me in Salesforce. So I can go ahead, make any relevant notes, convert that lead into a sales opportunity, and it eliminates at least 20 minutes of work every time I need to do that, because, we have a pretty reasonable amount of email conversions. And I would hope that you as a business leader would be able to see that too. How much time will I save by creating integrations or determining if these integrations exist? Now, something that, as a startup, this may not be on your radar just yet, but it's something to keep in mind, is that unique ideas are what make your company stand out. Bring them to life with software that's designed and tailored for your business. Out of the box software really does limit your business potential. Even with the most robust software solutions, if you want something that just gives you the freedom to pivot and go in any direction that you want, both now and into the future, custom software is the way to go. Now, it is going to be more time and more money up front to craft the perfect solution for you, but you'll end up wasting less time, wasting less money, and wasting less resources trying to maintain or tweak software that's not designed for your business or your processes. Custom software that Greene Egg Media provides, like I said at the beginning, we do mobile and web app development, we do internal applications, custom software, e-commerce, expression engine, web development, consulting services, and we actually launched a brand new website product today that is not today, in the last couple of weeks, that is designed specifically for small businesses like yours, where your needs today may be basic, but it is built on a platform that allows you to very quickly and very easily pivot without being told you can't do that. That's growth-focused websites. You'll see that at the bottom there. It also includes some stress-free support packages in there. Stay out of that box. Stay in your, don't even get in the refrigerator box, just stay out of the box in general. Okay. If custom software is not right for you yet, that's fine. There are so many solutions out there that will meet your needs in the moment. Okay. But if you do want custom software, we're here to help. And there are a ton of solutions out there, enterprise solutions that are designed to create that whole journey that give you that visibility in there. And like I said, it's still not going to meet your needs 100%, but there are some great solutions out there. So please don't feel as if custom software is the only way that you have to go, but for many businesses, it's the best way to go. So it's certainly an option. Give me a call, shoot me an email, find me on LinkedIn, visit our website. All of my contact information is down there on the bottom of your screen. I would be happy to send all of you, if you send me an email, not only a copy of our ebook, 5 Things Your Software Should Be Doing for Your Business and What to Do If It Isn't. It's really a great companion guide to this specific site's presentation. I'd also be happy to send you guys a copy of Managing Process Efficiency. And this is especially common with remote teams now with all the COVID protocols and that kind of thing. So please feel free to reach out. I would love to meet up for a beer, meet up for a cup of coffee, whatever. It's so sad that we can't be together this year. So I do hope to hear from a lot of you and someday be able to shake your hand and actually get to know you. But I thank you guys for joining me today. I hope that you were able to learn something from this and create some takeaways on how to avoid getting stuck in your software. Don't get stuck in that box. If you have any questions, shoot me a note. Like I said, I'd be happy to help you out. And I thank you guys again so much for joining me today. I'm so excited that you were here with me, and I hope you have a great rest of your Fort Collins Startup Week.